Welcome back, everybody, to the Fretboard Journal podcast. I'm your host, Jason Verlinde. As always, that's John Rauhaus playing in the background. Thank you so much for tuning in. Every week on this show, we try to share an interesting interview or an interesting perspective with you all on the world of guitars. And today I'm sharing with you, 5 or 6 perspectives because we're sharing another panel discussion that took place at our 2025 Fretboard Summit. Today, we're sharing the panel that guitar repair guru Evan Gluck hosted, featuring TJ Thompson, Ceil Thompson, Mark Stutman, and Mamie Minch. This is an opportunity for folks at the summit and for the luthiers themselves to share some knowledge with you all. It was a super fun panel and just one of dozens of hours of programming that we had at our Fretboard Summit. And our Fretboard Summit 2026 is really shaping up to be our coolest event yet. So if you haven't registered yet, August 20th to 22nd, in Chicago, Old Town School of Folk Music, go to the fretboardsummit.org website and you can lock in your 3-day pass right now. These will sell out. This is a guitar gathering unlike any other. If you don't want to take my word for it, do a search for it on YouTube. It is truly a place where you can connect and meet and hang out with some of the greatest luthiers and brands in the world of guitars, and also with each other, and have a lot of fun and get inspired and attend some really cool workshops and concerts that you will not find anywhere else. I put my heart and soul into this weekend, as does the entire staff of the Old Town School of Folk Music, and we have a lot of fun with it. I hope to see a whole bunch of you there. It is my favorite 3 days of the entire year. Before we get into all the fun stuff, I want to thank our sponsors, Peghead Nation, my favorite place to learn how to be a better guitarist, mandolin player, or banjo player. We're also brought to you by Seattle's own Mike and Mike's Guitar Bar, just down the street from me here in Seattle, Washington. Go to mmguitarbar.com. Check out their Substack. So many great articles on guitar history on the Mike and Mike's Guitar Bar Substack. And tell them the Fretboard Journal sent you. We are also brought to you by Stringjoy Strings, where you can get your first order discounted, 10% off, I believe, by using the discount code Fretboard when you check out at stringjoy.com. They can do custom sets. They've got acoustic and electric guitar strings. They've got mandolin strings and banjo strings and everything else that you could ever desire. I love what they've done to my guitars, and I think you will too. A couple of quick announcements. Our 58th issue of the Fretboard Journal is mailing to everybody right now. I hope you're all enjoying it. Hit the subscribe button on fretboardjournal.com if you want to join us. You can get your first issue included in any order if you join us today. We still have some supplies left of our 58th issue. I am going to be hosting on, the 20th of February, our annual Vintage Instrument Workshop at the Wintergrass Bluegrass Festival. So if anybody's hearing this and they're on the West Coast or want to just be spontaneous and get on a flight to Seattle, come see me at Wintergrass. We'll have a few $1 million worth of rare acoustic vintage instruments on stage and a couple of players who are just incredible doing the tasting notes. It's a really fun way to kick off Wintergrass. I have a blast, and some of these instruments you will just never see anywhere else in the world. And then last but not least, Jamie Gale, the guy behind the Boutique Guitar Showcase at NAMM and the Traveling Boutique Guitar Showcase, just interviewed me all about the Fretboard Journal on his podcast, which you can find on YouTube. It is called Life with Strings Attached. You can also just do a search for my name or Jamie Gale or however you want to find it. But we go deep for, around 90 minutes about the history of the Fretboard Journal and the very podcast that you are listening to. So go check that out. Thank you, Jamie, for including me on your show. I'm honored. We have a lot of surprises in store for you over the next few weeks, including a new Truth About Vintage Amps podcast episode and so much more. So stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy this panel discussion from the Fretboard Summit hosted by Evan Gluck on all things guitar repair. It's a fun one.
Jason asked me to do this again, and thank you for Jason and Fretboard Summit and Old Town School of Folk Music. What an awesome place. I hope everyone's having fun. I just wanted to read the room for a second. Who here is in our industry here? And who here is a customer? Cool. Great mix. Okay. Because I wanted to talk about us and them today. And but in a really, really good way. And I wanted to first address the fact that does anything seem different about this panel? that you don't normally see?
It's segregated. You put one gender on one side, one on the other.
Well, it's not segregated. It goes from femininity to masculinity. But no, it's not segregated. It's integrated. And what I have noticed, and I've spoken to some of the other women luthiers, is that every year there is a separate women in Lutherie's thing, which is great, but I think it perpetuates the stereotype that men are not as good as women. And I feel that we've done our work this year and that we're able to be on stage with them. And hopefully this will be, good. And so I don't want to belabor that point. What's that?
It will be the judge of that.
You'll be the judge of that. I don't want to belabor that point, but I am not going to ask questions to TJ like, how have you struggled being a man in this industry? I'm not going to say how frustrated I am when somebody walks into my shop and sees all of this and then gets distracted and can't tell the quality of my work. I'm just going to treat us all as equals because that is what we are and that is how we should always be viewed. So that is my little spiel about that. There's the customer and then there's what we do. And I thought it would be kind of fun is when you bring your guitar to somebody like TJ or Mark or me or Ceil or Mamie, sometimes you do a deep dive on who these people are. And then sometimes you just walk in blind and you don't know what you're going to expect. So I'm going to have everybody introduce each other based on the knowledge that they have of them. And it could be accurate or it could be not accurate. And it doesn't matter because from a customer perspective, that's how you're walking into it with this mystique of the person that you're about to see. So I'm going to have Ceil introduce me.
All right. Here on the stage with me, I have my good friend Evan Gluck. He's a great repairman. He's a survivor. He has shingles, as you guys maybe heard. Very strong. He's hilarious, and he does very good work that I've seen. So I've never seen the bad stuff, but.
That was good. Thank you. That's mostly accurate, except it's all bad work. I'm going to introduce Ceil. I met Ceil how many years ago? And how old are you now? 20. So I met Ceil when she was 16 or 15, and she's a freaking badass. I saw her working, going to the Gallup School and French polishing something so hard that like Marie Antoinette was coming back to life. It was like freaking amazing, and she just had it. And then she's worked with Dan Earlywine. She works at StewMac now, and she's just like this up-and-comer we're all going to know about at some point, which is great. I am going to have Mark introduce TJ.
Oh, okay. That was easier than I thought. I was racking my brain as to what I know about you, Mamie. My friend TJ I've known since before I was in this industry. Essentially, you all know him. He doesn't need much introduction, but he is beyond maybe the most uniquely talented luthier on earth, a pretty exceptional human, and that's the basis of our friendship more than the guitar stuff, which is a nice aside.
TJ, I want you to introduce Mamie.
Mamie?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this. I met Mamie back in the 70s. No, actually, I have never met Mamie until 3 minutes ago. But I've heard wonderful things about her work and her as a human being. I heard that she worked at Retrofret for a while, is that right? And then you went off on your own, is that true? Okay, so I got that part right. And let me just ask you, do you have a kind of specialty? Like, I see your posts sometimes and you work on acoustics and electrics, is that right?
It's true, yeah. My shop works on a lot of things, including orchestral strings. So personally, I really like American flat tops from the first half of the 20th century. But I work on a lot of stuff, and I like to have each day be a little bit different.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and it's my pleasure to introduce Mark Stutman, who I haven't met before today, but I've heard about. And Mark works for Folkways, right, and is a seasoned repair person, and yeah, people say Mark is awesome. and I believe them.
Thank you.
And he makes really good eye contact when you meet him, which I take as a sign of sort of being a steadfast person. I liked him from the moment I met him. And Mark, what do you really like most about repair? Do you have a specialty or something that you focus on?
I've become a specialist in Gibsons from the first half of the 20th century, but flat tops in general. Yeah.
We will have conversations
Much.
throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
But only with a microphone. I think it's cool that way. Yeah. Okay. So that was the introduction. Some of this stuff is probably wildly accurate, and some of it might be inaccurate. But that's how a customer is going to walk into your shop, not knowing exactly who you are. So the purpose of this is you're going to find out actually a little bit more about us now, and we're going to find out a little bit more about you. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about experience. So just quickly down the line, how long have you been doing this, TJ?
Oh, since 1983.
So that's
Professionally.
42 years, 20, yeah, more or less.
Yes.
Yes. And you, Mr. Math?
Since 98.
98.
5 years, 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Something like 20 years.
Okay. Yeah. And I started working in music stores in 86. So next year will be 40 years of working with guitars. So we have kind of like, some older guys and then some like vaguely newer people. But I wanted to tap in on a couple of questions that we might have forgotten the answers to. And it's why I really wanted Ceil here to look at things from like a little fresher eye, starting in this business. So when you started, is there anything about this business that surprised you, that you didn't expect coming, but that is sort of what happened? I'll answer first just so you can get a feel. For me, it was kind of like the spectrum of how customers were attached to their guitars and the things that they pinned on them, as far as whether or not this was a working tool where everything is fine, or this is some sort of precious childhood trauma that needs to be cured in your shop. So any little ding will be the biggest nightmare in the world. And I learned more about people doing this than I thought I would, because I thought it was just going to be more about the work. So that's my answer to that. Anyone else have a thought?
What you said is really huge, actually. I've been surprised by like I don't know, maybe this is going to sound crunchy, but like the availability of like space for personal growth. Just like, what's it like to deal with a bunch of different people each day who obviously have a shared interest in guitars and, fixing them and playing them, hopefully, but not all of them. Some of them just like to have them, which is weird, sort of. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. Sorry. No, but I mean people who actually don't play at all, who just want to have guitars. And yes, it is really surprising. It's never the people that you think. You're like, oh, this person is, I totally get this person. And then they come back and they say, well, I measured all the work that you did and I don't like the measurements. I'm like, but how does it feel? They're like, I can't answer that question. It's just like 1/64th off right here. So can you just fix that? That always kind of, it's always kind of takes me by surprise, or not anymore so much, but people, that really is what it is. People have their favorite beloved thing and they pin hopes and dreams and expectations on it, and they can really get let down in unexpected ways. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I didn't see coming, I just learned 2 days ago. I just figured out a couple of days ago about myself, and I was kind of surprised, but and I'm not really proud of this, or it's probably something I shouldn't talk about in public, but I know this is the kind of stuff Evan is looking for. So I'll just jump right in. So it turns out I like to tell people what to do. And I really like it when they listen to me and do it. But the problem is, even when people are asking for advice, they usually and often don't mean it. They just want you to say, they just want you to agree with what they're doing already. And I think I'm really talented at seeing somebody else's life and the problems that they that they're creating for themselves and how they could be avoiding them. I think I'm really skilled at it, but it just goes to waste because they're not necessarily, I found out the hard way, wanting to know my view, even if they're asking, and so it's tricky. But what I figured out is that like being in this business, people ask me for my opinion and my advice all the time. And it turns out I'm feeding that part of myself that I'm not that proud to admit, that I like to tell people what to do. And I get to tell them what to do all the time because they're asking me, what should I do? So and they often listen to me. So I get to fill that need that I have for, I mean, that's kind of a crass way of saying it, telling people what to do. It's not really quite, it doesn't have a bite to it like that. But I like to think that that my opinions are meaningful and valuable and could be helpful to somebody else. Now that's a long way of saying that if you have any personal problems you'd like to discuss, I'd be happy to take a few minutes to you can test me. And as you walk away, you'll be saying to yourself, yeah, he was right, or no, that guy is way off base.
Can I go deeper for a second on that? Do you think it's based on a time in your life when you were not in control and never able to tell people what to do, and now you're exercising that in all of my entire business success is based on all of the trauma I had in childhood and me contradicting it every day. I'm serious.
Yeah, no, see what I mean? He's always looking for more. No, that absolutely applies to me. No one ever asked me for my opinion. No one ever said, what do you think about that? No one ever said, how do you feel about that? In fact, my dad said, boys don't have feelings. So that was kind of a moment where I was like, well, now I'm confused. Because my grandmother seemed to think that it was okay for boys to have feelings. So I was totally confused. But here I am, grown up, just figuring out that's one of the things that I'm feeding, one of the needs for myself that actually is a great feeling. It's a wonderful feeling to be able to be a kind of guide for people. And Roger Sadowski said to me, I think a couple of years ago at Brian Gallup's guitar, whatever that thing is called, guitar Northwood, yeah. He came up to me and said, how does it feel to be one of the mentors now? And I was like, what are you talking about? And I realized that's sort of what he's talking about. Like to be that person, because he's been in that role for a long time. People go up to him all the time and ask him his opinion about whether they're doing this right or wrong. And it's actually a really wonderful place to be in that spot. So.
And we get to make money while we're healing, which is great. It's fantastic.
Conversely, I don't think or am aware of childhood trauma that I'm struggling with every day in my job. But your question was at the beginning, what was surprising?
Yeah,
right?
If anything surprised you. Yeah.
Well, so everything surprised me.
Okay.
I went in without a plan. I learned how to build guitars and thought that I would become a guitar builder. I quickly realized I don't actually enjoy building guitars. It creates huge anxiety if you're at all a perfectionist. And there are so many places that you could ruin, 2 months of work, and it's too much. I couldn't do it. And I started fixing guitars, and I realized that old guitars were much more fun than new guitars because, like every other human, every now and then you screw up and you drop a tool on a guitar. And if it's an old guitar, it doesn't make that much of a difference. And anybody who says otherwise is lying through their pants. So a lot less anxiety. And what I did discover early on in being as naive and green in this job is that there's a lot of anxiety involved. And if you are prone to anxiety, as you might be, being of our race.
Oh, you mean everything's fine?
Then it's difficult. And those early years were really, really, really hard before you get known and you just have to wait for somebody to come in with their guitar for you to work on or fix or sell or buy or whatever it was that you're doing. But that was 25 years ago, and every day there's another, for better or for worse, there's something that is surprising, right? And the things that have become surprising, at least in these years, 25 years in a more enjoyable, happy way. you kind of learn things about yourself as you're working on guitars or as you're interacting with people or, chatting with your staff or what have you. And so the kind of surprises have become more happy.
It brings up an interesting point. It's for all of us, and you will get this. You can tell I don't plan for any of this, but most of our lives are spent like, when you're a mountain climber or something, and you are putting your, what do they call those things that you stick into the rock to hold on to, right?
Clamps.
Yeah, okay, those things. When you stick them into the rock, and you are so terrified of falling because when you just start doing this, you look back, and it's this chasm that you could fall down and die. The longer you do it, that feeling never goes away, but your perspective changes. And when you look behind you, it's less than a foot drop. And when you can remember that, the surprises that you have every day do not have the same sting to them that they used to. Sure. Now, on the other hand, you're 5 years in, so things may seem a little tense to you. So do you have any surprising?
So most of the work that I do with customers right now is through StewMac. I work for StewMac and I'm a tech. So I answer a lot of emails with customers. And I'm really enjoying that job. It's like everybody who is emailing me needs help, So it's very nice to be able to like TJ was saying, help people like that. I mean, obviously, I'm 5 years in and don't know very much, but it's nice.
You still have 1,000-yard stare at this point. Yeah.
It's nice to be able to help people like that. And yeah, it's like the first half of repair work. And then when I go and I work with Dan in his shop, that's the second half, actually doing the work. So I get it's good. It's a good balance between people who want me and people who want the work.
Nice.
So.
Mark said something interesting, that when he started, he wanted to build guitars and then realized that he didn't want to build guitars. When I started, I wanted to do everything, and I looked at somebody like TJ and I said, fuck, I want to do what TJ's doing. And then when I found out about Mark, I was like, fuck, I want to do what Mark's doing. And Dan earlier, I want to do what Mark's doing. And then I realized that I really didn't like doing what TJ does. And I really didn't like doing what. So I had to make my own business work based on the things that I want to do, because if you're coming in to see me, you want me to be doing a job that my heart is in, and you're paying for the best guy to do that job. And if my heart is not in it, then you need to go somewhere else. And part of my process has been figuring out what I like to do and what I don't like to do, and just do the shit out of the things I like to do. So the next question would be, is there anything that you really don't like to do that you kind of stopped doing that you started doing when you first started? Yeah, sure, why not? Oh, no, let's start that way now this time.
Hello. Okay. So things that we did when we opened that I decided I didn't like doing. Yeah, I don't love doing guitar electronics on electric guitars. I install a lot of acoustic pickups, and I can do it. It's just, I'm just clumsy at it, and I kind of clod along, and I take too long to do it. It's not a really good way to make money for me, so I let my business partner do those things. I have the privilege of being in business with someone else. It's Chloe Swantner. Her background is in building violins and violas, so our shop also handles orchestral strings. But yeah, I'll do frets on electric guitars. I'll do all the other things. I just don't love even installing pickups. It's just like, bleh, I don't like it. So I let her do it. I can do it in a pinch, and it's fine, and I'm probably fine at it. I just don't like it. So rather than saying, no, we don't do that at my shop because there's two of us, I say, sure, she'll do it. Yeah.
But when you first opened, remember you guys came up to me and we went through a whole electronics thingy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you were jazzed about doing it until I guess you started doing it. And then you're like, yeah, that's not for me.
I don't really like it. I
it.
worked on too many hollow bodies where I had to pull things in and out of F-holes. And Evan was kind of one of our, I don't know, like angels or mentors. Evan was like, we called you with all these questions right in the beginning. And so it's fabulous. It helped us open our doors and get started.
And you're how many years in now?
Our shop is 12 years old.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Well, I'm still learning a lot about everything that I'm doing. I've noticed that things that are like harder for me to reverse, like finish repairs, that kind of thing, that just stresses me out a lot. And so I don't like to do that so much. But I think I need to get better at it before I can make a real decision on if it's something I like to do or not. Still figuring that kind of thing out. But yeah, I really like the process of building more than repair. It just feels more like free. And that's something that I like.
Yeah, one of the reasons I asked you for this was we were in a car somewhere and I was asking you about your building and stuff like that. And you just like turned into a totally different like badass person who I was like just saying, wow, she's doing shit that I would never do. And I was like, yeah, so she's going to kill this thing. No, I answered first. About saying that there was things that I didn't, found out that I didn't want to do.
That's legit. Well, after lots of years of doing this, you just a niche happens, and the niche happens because you don't want to do a lot of stuff. And you want to do the thing that you're doing, and I have a luxury of having business partners, as well to let me not do. Thank God, because I don't like doing business admin. Right. I don't like doing ordering. I don't like doing organization. I don't like making work orders. There's like, name it. I don't like doing guitar electronics. I'm really sick and tired of making nuts and saddles and installing pickups and everything that guy was sitting over there in the Blue Jays hat does, I don't want to do. And he does almost everything. And I get to have fun in my lab tinkering on old Gibsons, losing money for the store. And it's great. And that is the luxury of having the staying power to be here this long. And thankfully we sell guitars. If we didn't sell guitars, I would very much have to do all those other things and not have amazing people helping me at the store. So, it's a luxury.
Yeah. If I wasn't in New York, I would have to do all those things because I wouldn't have the clientele to just do the things that I want. So, yeah.
And then there's TJ, who's never done anything but what he does.
Is that
well,
true?
Not entirely, but yeah.
Yeah, I have an answer, but I've forgotten what the question was.
Oh, is there anything
I just want to make sure it fits the question.
What's your social security number and mother's maiden? No, it was.
That's all. Everybody can get that online.
Is there anything that you started doing, when you first started getting into this, that you just discovered that was just like totally not for you? And,
Yeah, so for me, this is about the fine art of weeding out the wrong clientele.
You're jumping ahead.
But this is really an art, and I thought I was really, really good at it, and I do think I'm kind of good at it, but the way to reach me is through email, and so I have to be super able to read between the lines in the email to figure out if this is a good match, if I'm a good match for this client. And 90% of the time I get it right, but the problem is that other 10%. So I have to open the door, even though my instincts are telling me this is not a good match, because sometimes I'm wrong. So I have to open the door and then take it to the next step. And then sometimes I'm like, yikes, I wish I'd listened to myself. Or I'm like, I made a mistake. And if I could just point out an example here in the audience, Mari. When Mari first approached me, he's a kind of research analyst guy, and he was researching everything, every detail. That drives me nuts, and I wrote him back. I said, we're not a good match. And I was wrong. Mari has turned out to be just a wonderful friend and a great guy, and that research thing that he does has actually served both of us. And so he's had me rethink I just had an aversion to people researching guitars. One of the things I value most in my personal life is privacy. And it's tricky when you get into this business. People start publishing serial numbers, puts me in serious trouble as soon as they start publishing serial numbers, because then everybody can trace everything, and I no longer give receipts. Nobody, people who come to me understand they're not going to get a receipt. And the reasons for that are a little bit involved and tricky, but they're coming to me because they want this thing to go away. Maybe they got drunk, they wanted their sound hole to look like Tony Rice's, so they whittled it out late at night, at a drunken stupor and party. They just whittled it out with a penknife, just like Clarence did.
This is a true story.
Yeah. So then they come
Nobody
back.
can make this up.
After the alcohol wears off, but that's supposed to go away. That they hired me to make that go away. And so when people started publishing serial numbers and people like Mari started researching these things like they were important back in those days, they weren't important. They were just broken old guitars, and they weren't even worth a lot of money back then. But a lot of that stuff has come back to haunt me, where somebody will do this research, they find out, they say, did you replace that pickguard? Well, in some cases, that's a $25,000 question. And that guitar's been sold 8 times before. So are all those people preparing now for a lawsuit? Because they didn't necessarily know. And what's my involvement and role in that? So anyway, that all starts with weeding out the wrong clients. But that's a deeper topic. And it sounds like we may revisit.
But you literally, that was the perfect segue to
Okay.
where we were going. You almost said, okay, so has anyone, and this is addressed to all of you, has anyone ever bought you in a guitar and told you exactly what was wrong with it?
No, never.
Every day of my life.
Has anyone ever written you an email or called you and told you exactly what was wrong with their guitar? Yeah. And hypothetically, have any of them ever been mistaken? Okay, so I'm going to tell a little story. And that is one of the things that pisses me off the most until 10 days ago. About 2 weeks ago, I threw out my neck, and I went to the chiropractor. And the chiropractor, who is a wonderful chiropractor and has helped me so much over the years, did a couple of back adjustments and just said, your neck is too tight for me to adjust, so come back on Wednesday. And it was the most pain I've been in since I had a car accident in 1986 and broke my hip in 7 places and ruptured my urethra. Not a fun injury for a 17-year-old. Anyway, so I then, went to Pennsylvania and played music with a friend of mine for 2 days in agony. And during that, I started getting these rashes and these hard bumps on my neck. And I went on Google and I said, if you throw your neck out, can you get stress rashes? And Google said yes. And then I Googled, can you get hard bumps on your muscles from stress and tension? And Google also agreed with me. And so I was armed. So I got back and my wife looked at me and she said, this is not a chiropractor issue. And I said to her, if I can't get this pain to go away, I want to get my affairs in order and look at assisted suicide. And I was serious, and she could tell that I was serious. And then she said, that sounds expensive. What about unassisted? And I was like, and she said I could leave the room for a few minutes, just sign these. But no, so she said, you're going to the City MD the next day. So I went to the City MD the next day, and I walked in and I saw the doctor and I said, I have thrown out my neck. I need a muscle relaxer. And the doctor said, no, you have shingles. So in my pain, I said to myself, holy shit, that's exactly what my customers are doing, is they're coming into me with thinking they are right. And they are right based on the information that they have chosen to look at and accept. And sometimes it's just somebody needs to look at it who's not them and not the internet to tell them what's actually wrong. And they could be completely wrong. And that's where the harder conversations come in, like, I need a neck reset. I need a whatever, where they're just like, oh, I need your saddle adjusted and the neck is bowed. So I'm going to try and be a little more gentle with talking people down based on that experience with me. So my question here is, how do you have that conversation with somebody who comes in for something? In your case, it might not be simple, but then turns into a shit show. And in the rest of our cases, it could be something simple, but then it just turns into this open heart surgery.
Right.
Shingles, by the way, 0 stars, not recommended.
That's a big question. We were talking earlier about, TJ, you reflected a little bit on like one of the parts of the job that you've found really rewarding, which is being the guy who knows stuff and has a good answer that you've done a lot of work to get yourself to have, and it feels nice when people respect the work you've done and your perspective. And I sort of thought a little bit about what irks me the most, like what was really, really, really annoying for me, is that everybody comes in thinking they know what's wrong, but there are some people who only seem to want to come to you to tell you what they know. And I don't know if male luthiers experience this as much as I do, or if I just really, maybe, it just seems like there's a certain kind of guy.
It looks more panicked with male luthiers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the customer is more panicked about it, and with you, it's probably a little more authoritarian.
And it's not women clients, it's men clients. And they come in and they say, oh, my action's a little high. And I say, okay, well, okay, I hear you. Let's have a look. And you look at the guitar and you do all the looking. You say, well, here's what I'm looking for, and here's why I'm coming to this conclusion. But it looks like your neck angle has now pulled too far forward. And if we'd like to get things in order, I'm going to need to reset your neck. And then they just talk. It's almost like, whoop, they didn't hear it. And they just tell you about the things that they know. And then they tell you about what it is that they reiterate what they'd like you to do. And then I just find it really annoying. So that's less and less as the years go on. Does it get to me? But I fucking hate it. I just really don't like it.
Do you find it helpful when they tell you how easy it is and how long it should take?
And what they would like to pay for it? Yeah. It's not that big of a deal. All you're going to do is just like lower the saddle, Like, all right, well, here at our shop, this is how we would fix it, and I would charge you this much money, and I'd be happy to do that for you if you'd like. And then you use the uneasy silence to your advantage. This is something I've really been liking in recent years is a silent moment. Okay, are you going to talk? Because here's your chance to say thank you or no thank you. And I really I've got enough work. I don't need your guitar. So that's the other thing, is getting to the point where you don't need that client.
Right.
Yeah, there is something about being a woman in a service job, and in a way when you're talking to clients you're in a service job, where they would just really like you to be compliant and take care of them. And I really don't like that either. Like I'm a skilled person offering you a service in exchange for your American dollars.
Right. Years ago I said, I'm the guitar repair guy, I'm not the hug guy, but everybody needs a hug.
Yeah. I mean, often people in this position are super kind and actually, are motivated by a desire to help. But yeah. So what was the question?
That was good.
Good, okay.
It doesn't matter. That's the answer now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Mamie was saying, whenever it's possible, when I'm looking at a guitar, I like to do it alone, like with no customer there. Maybe send them away and bring them back or take to the other room. I just think that's really helpful to I don't know. I don't want them there watching me look at it. And then it gives me more time to fully explain what the issue is too. I can think about it and think about how to tell them, how to explain to them based on their personality what needs to happen to the guitar.
She's going to get farther than all of us.
I think so.
Yeah.
Therapists make a lot more money than we do.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Yeah.
That's keep going on that. That's a good line of thought. What the customer is sometimes right, and they often are well researched, and they often know exactly what's wrong with their guitar, and it's important to not put that wall up that you are everything, because we're not. And what I've found most useful is for 90%, 95% of the people that walk in the door, the interaction is about finding the common language and trying to explain the problem in a way that the person understands, either find what's really important to them, what they actually need versus what you want. I always want to fix things 100% all the way, and maybe that person doesn't want to spend $6,000 on their guitar. And that's fine, and they're allowed to. I don't want to do that job if I can't take that on. So then there's the challenge of explaining to someone, I'm not, I just can't. It's not who I am. I can't go halfway on your guitar. And then admittedly, there's going to be 5-10% of the people that are oil and water, and it just is. There's a lot of people in this world that are going to be oil and water with you, and again, there comes the staff to my rescue, and we tag out. and again, we have the luxury of tagging out when you can tell that someone is not the right person for you to be talking with. I'm pretty unfiltered, and there's a lot of people that can't deal with my unfilteredness. And again, 25 years in, hindsight's 2020, I've come to know what my feelings are as a human, and I'm trying to see myself through my customer's eyes at this point. That's a new thing, new surprising thing, and just reading the scene, but realizing I know a lot. But I'm not the guy that's been playing that guitar. And maybe that guitar does buzz at the third fret, even though it looks like it's set up perfectly. Do you know? And so there's could be lots of different reasons for that problem. And it's really important to step back and try to be more objective about it. So, I mean, that's always been my work as a human being since I was a kid. And I think halfway through the century, I'm finally beginning to understand that. But it's really important, I think, for all of us in this job or in any service job like that.
So I'm a little overwhelmed by this question and topic because I have about 6 things going through my mind. I hope I can remember all of them, but at this point, most of my clients, I'm happy to report about 70% do to me what Jason did to Evan, is it just do your thing. And they send literally a blank check. They say, do your thing, I know who you are, and send a blank check. That's my favorite kind of client right now. And part of the reason is because...
Really? Come on.
No, but I'm about to say why, and this is the tricky part. And
I don't think you have to say why.
This is why I have no business speaking in public, and why I usually I have always avoided events like this. We're getting close to the heart of it.
I'm so honored that
when you
always
do
say
this
yes
for
to
a
me.
long time, like Evan's doctor, you're seeing layers and layers and layers into this. So the person comes along, they have enough information in most cases to be dangerous for themselves and for our working relationship. And I'm seeing 6 layers beneath what they're saying. And it's really can be very frustrating to explain it over and over. Like after a while, you're like, I've had this conversation 1,000 times, and now I have to do it again and come across as patient. And so the easiest thing is just send me a check and the instrument, and I'll do my thing. Because it can be a strain to keep coming across as like patient when that's not what you're feeling. Truly, I'm feeling like I said this over and over. It's why I finally got on social media. I said, I'm going to just post these 100 things that I say over and over, and I'll just send them to my Instagram. So I've been doing that. And in fact, there was an example of this that happened last night here. And it's a good example of why I don't go out in public. Because there's a gentleman, he shall go unnamed, love this guy, nothing personal about him, but he has a vintage Martin guitar that he's been wanting me to repair for years. And I got here last night and he immediately descended on me and said, I want to show you the guitar. I was like, okay. And I said, tell me what you know about this guitar. Tell me what, so I get his story. And all the time I'm like seeing, okay, and I'm now holding the guitar. And so now I have 12 layers of depth of information about this instrument. And now I know what he thinks about it and his history. And he said to me, I said, you know, the neck is underset, right? So somebody set the neck for a bridge that's too low. So now it needs to be repaired again. And I'm like, did he just pay for this? Or, where do I go here? And he said, he gave me some important information. He said, well, I asked the guy to weigh the bridge that he took off and put a bridge back on that was the same weight. And I'm like, ding, ding, ding. Okay, now what do? Do I say, see, this is why I want just the check in the guitar. Just let me do my thing. Because he had enough information to know that it's not wrong that the bridge that was on it sounded the way he wanted it to sound. Great. So he asked the guy to match that. Well, that's a mistake because now the bridge is too low. So now the neck is underset. Now it needs to be replaced, reset again, and a new bridge, which to me is the number one no-no in vintage guitar repair. If you're taking notes, the bridge area is sacrosanct. Do not replace the bridge unless you absolutely have to. So anyway, I've gone on a kind of a long.
No, that was actually perfect. That was great. Okay. Mark hit on something, and I love how organic this has been going. Somewhere I have a mental note of how this should go, and everyone is saying the exact same leading tone into what I want to do, is how do you get rid of customers sometimes who, my philosophy is that anyone who's bringing a guitar to me, is simply trying to get through my bullshit in order to give me money. And at that point, how can I not be as pleased as humanly possible about that? But Mark said something interesting about sometimes you don't see eye to eye with a customer, and there is a personality thing rather than the actual guitar itself. And my New Year's resolution last year was I have probably 8,000 customers, right? And I have 20 or 30 who, if somebody said they died, I'd be like, oh, yeah. I'd be like, yeah. And then I would take them out of my client list gleefully. But so I have decided that I am not actively going to fire them. But when they contact me, I'm going to steer their business elsewhere, because I'm at an age and a tolerance right now where I just want to be happy all the time and not dread somebody coming in. And I have, in the last 8 months or so, gotten rid of 3 of them. And the joy, and one of them went fucking bananas on me. Like, just started a list of grievances about me and my shop and the rules in my shop, that he doesn't, can't do specific things in my shop, blah, blah, blah. And I typed a lot of emails that I deleted back to him and never sent him a reply. But the one reply that I just really want to send him is, so you're telling me all these things while you were still trying to bring me another guitar. So they couldn't have bothered you that much. Anyway, that's me venting and taking a session about this one guy. But I'll keep going if you want. No, but there's the joy that I have in my heart that I will never have to see him again. And it's strictly personal. And this is so rare that out of 8,000 people, there's only 20 or 30 people that who am very good with people, just can't get along with. So do you, base most of your decision-making on whether to work for somebody on what the type of instrument they're bringing in, or is this just some creepy dude that you don't want in your shop? Like,
do I go first? No, everyone's looking at me.
yeah.
Okay. It's interesting. I want to hear people talk about how they fire someone, because I've done it in a lot of ways. I've done it in subtle ways, and you know what? I appreciate what you're looking to have done. Sounds like a valid request. My shop just isn't going to be able to help you with that. And the bummer is when people are socially inept and they don't get it. Like I don't know. I guess like I found out about myself in this job that I'm really interested in soft skills. I'm interested in social skills and cues and working together to create a tone. That's really important to me, more so than my business partner. She's a little bit like, all right, what do you want? Okay, good. See you in 2 days. And I'm a little bit like, it matters more to me. So I have fired people in subtle ways. Sometimes they pick up on it. I have had to tell people, I'm not going to help you with this, period. And then again, the awkward silence. And it's your job to say, oh, okay, got it. Whatever. We have a young employee who, at this point in my life, I don't tolerate sexism or anyone making me feel uncomfortable. That's it. Goodbye, you're done. That's it. But she was there alone, and she had someone be extremely creepy and wait for her outside. So she called me, and I happened to be about 20 minutes away, and I came in and read the guy the fucking riot act. So that was the most extreme firing we've done. I basically walked out with this guy's guitar, and he sort of was running away as I was walking out with the guitar, and he deserved it. So I've fired people in a lot of ways. A lot of the work we're doing is longer term relationships with people, but shorter repairs. People will come in for their setups a couple times a year, and not every time I see them are they commissioning a big restoration. So we do those kinds of things, but it's usually many small interactions. So I get to know people some. And then there's a collection of people who have self-selected to bring their restorations to me. We have a scheduling link online so people can make their own appointment, which is great because I don't spend a lot of the time on the phone. But
you can't vet people.
Sometimes I know. Chloe likes it more than I like it. I'm more interested in tone and like social experience, and she's a little bit like, I don't care that much. So ups and downs. But
like I do what TJ does with email and email only. And I can just, if you're writing a manifesto about a string buzz, you're probably not my customer. And, do you write the shortest answer possible to the longest?
Oh, Mr. Gluck. They're out.
Yeah. I'm just like, if you write me this giant thing, I'll just write back, awesome. Anyway.
Yeah, at this point in my career, I don't really have that option. Like with StewMac, I have to answer the emails. I can't not answer the emails.
So you do like customer service emails for StewMac?
Yeah, I do.
Well, you must get plenty of ornery emails coming at you that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge. Like how do you deal with those ornery emails?
I mean, you just have to be really gentle and answer their question, and that's it. Like we get a lot of emails of people who want to talk, and I get that. Like they probably don't have many people to talk about this kind of thing with, and it's good to start a conversation with them a lot of the time, but also it's important to keep it like a little under control because they'll kind of go crazy sometimes. They'll really start
Is it
talking.
anonymous? In other words, like if I write you, do I know that it's you?
It says Ceil T.
It says Ceil, but
I could change that if I wanted
Yeah.
to, but
So
I usually keep it.
Has that ever gotten awkward in like where people then know who you are? Or has it people not been able to piece it together?
Yeah, not
Okay.
in my experience.
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't been there super long. I started in January. So
Okay.
maybe if once I'm there longer,
Yeah. Well, after
have
this,
one.
everyone's going to know who you are.
they're going to be requesting for me.
Sorry.
In a retail environment, which is my store, and my store has been a retail environment since 2 years after I started it, no, you don't fire people.
Right.
In 25 years, I have asked people to not come back, but I can probably count those on less than one hand. It's very, very, very rare. And there are people who you don't get along with, and I get out of the situation. When you operate a very busy repair shop or you're niched, you have this condition that, I can't help you, I don't work on that. I mean, that's your amazing thing, right? It's not a Martin from before 1938. I don't work on it. And so I'm getting there, catching up with TJ on that. And I have like 100 guitars to fix in front of me. I don't need, like you, Mamie, I don't need more guitars, so I can easily get out of something that way. But if someone walks into your store, because it's a store and you're open, and they have a guitar and they're ornery, yeah, you work on it. And you know what? So what? They're ornery. You do your job and they pay you and they leave and then you move on.
Right.
To have somebody come into your, essentially what is your house to do, like you're operating a different thing.
Right.
Appointment system, you're like, yeah, you have that luxury of picking and choosing, but in retail you don't have that luxury, and you're gonna have people of all kinds, and we are a diverse species. There are all kinds of us. Some of us are less fun to be with than others, but whatever, they're paying my salary, And that's the way it's gonna be for us.
So I mentioned the Brian Gallup Northwood seminar a couple of years ago. Evan was there, and I started out. Brian doesn't know this. He's not here, is he?
No.
Okay, good. Because he doesn't know what I did at his seminar. He just didn't come to my talk. But I opened my discussion by saying at some point you're going to have a narcissistic sociopath walk into your shop, and that you pray for the sociopath instead of the psychopath. But that could happen too. Hopefully it will be the sociopath. And you better be prepared for it. And so I spent the first 20 minutes kind of teaching people in the group how to prepare for it. And I did a grounding exercise because I said, you have to be grounded when these people come in, because they're running 440 volts right through the top of their head. And when it enters yours, you'll end up burned out, literally burned out. That's where that saying, that expression comes from. So I did a 20-minute workshop on grounding, and then I talked about bar frets,
Which was awesome, by the way.
45
The
minutes.
grounding thing was great. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So I had beautiful music playing, and if you'd like, I'll just do a 1-minute Reader's Digest version of it right now. Mark is he doesn't, okay. But he's just not a new agey kind of guy, but let's just go through it. So I said, okay, first of all,
Do you want them to turn off the lights?
well, we need some beautiful music playing too. I had some really good music playing. But I said, use your spidey senses and send out a web to each of the 4 corners of the room from your feet. So just go ahead and do that. Just feel what that feels like. And now I said, send out 4 webs to the corner of the room from your upper body. And now feel how you are kind of anchored and centered and grounded in a way that you weren't a minute ago. And then I said, drop a grounding cord from your first chakra, which is between your front parts and your back parts, for those of you who don't know, to the center of the earth. And then I said, drop a bowling ball through it, just to make sure it's clear all the way down, because that's where you want this 440 volts to go, right through you and down into the ground. I talked about when I grew up, I saw those metal things on top of barns. I grew up in central Ohio, and I was like, what is that? That's called a lightning rod, right? So it keeps the barn from burning up when the lightning hits it. The barn doesn't burn. It goes through the rod and down into the earth where it should be. That's where that energy is supposed to be stored and is safely stored. And so I was teaching humans how to ground like that. So when they hit you with the 440 volts, it goes right back down into the earth.
It's hard to get in 1 minute, but when it's a 20-minute thing, it's actually really cool. Yeah. So we are running out of time, so I just wanted to say a couple of things and then ask one more question to the panel, who I thank profusely for doing this and for trusting me again to do this for a second year in a row, you two. So who are the customers here again? Okay, so we just talked a whole bunch of shit about customers. None of us run our own business. We all work for you. And we are super thankful that you are our customers. And what you just saw here is usually as bad as it gets when we vent about customers. It is all about self-preservation and has nothing to do with you. Somebody asked me, how do I deal with problem customers? And I said, I don't, because I have 8,000 customers. So I look at a customer as 8,000 people. So I have to be in good enough shape to deal with 8,000 people and not just one person. So I have to get rid of the one person that drags me down. So my question to the panel is, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And because of the shingles, I'm going to do a 4-year thing.
I want to be working less. I want to be doing all my other fun things that I love. I work with recent migrants to New York City, help them in their asylum cases. I love to hike. I love my dog. I like to write songs and make artwork. So I want to be spending less time behind the bench. Yeah.
I would like to be working at StewMac still. I love StewMac. And hopefully building some more as well. I need to set some time aside for building in the next 10 years, for sure.
My wife is an amazing filmmaker, and she's kind of just starting to hit it now. And we are probably hopefully, fingers crossed, at the cusp of our lives changing considerably. And I would like to do exactly what I'm doing right now, except with a longer turnaround time where the stakes are lower.
I'm really not sure where I want to be in 10 years. There's too many options in my brain. I can't pinpoint.
You're passing?
Oh,
okay. Okay. So I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about a pet peeve of mine, which is beginning luthiers using the highest grade materials they can buy. Just because you have money does not mean you should be using the best materials on the planet. And I realized the other day that I have been using second-rate and third-rate materials my whole career. And I'm just coming in to the place in my career where I feel like I deserve to start using the best materials. So I'm going to be building guitars with the best materials.
That was good.
Maybe a couple more years.
Thank you.
So I want to heartfeltly, is that a word? Yeah, could be today. Mamie Minch, Ceil Thompson, Mark Stutman, TJ Thompson. Thank you guys for coming. Sakif, thank you. And Fretboard Summit, and I'm Evan Gluck, and Fretboard Summit, and the Old Town School of Folk Music. Thanks,
everybody.
and have a great show, guys.
All right, that was our panel discussion on guitar repair with Evan Gluck and friends from the 2025 Fretboard Summit. This is just a small taste of all the fun, cool things that take place every year in Chicago at the Fretboard Summit. Join us if you wish, fretboardsummit.org.